What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Ade Gman. This is like an emergency one because so much has happened in the last 72 hours in the world of boxing. It's just gone boom. And we're going to try and cover it the best we can. Before we get into the video, very quickly, a couple of things I need you guys to do. Firstly, I've started my own football channel, Ade Oladipo Talks Football. I need you guys to subscribe to that channel, please. I know there's a crossover between boxing and football, and we are going to put so much content out this week. Mr. Rory Jennings is going to join me, majestic, big football fan, Tottenham Hotspur fan is going to join me as well. The link to the channel is in the description, and subscribe to G-Man's channel as well. The link to G-Man's channel is in the description as well. You're guaranteed at least one video every single day from G-Man. All right, before we get into it, G-Man, how are you, my man? How's it been the last 5-6 days?
I'm very good. Been enjoying the football channel. I cannot wait to see what you and Rory have in store. Arsenal are playing Chelsea this coming Sunday. I'm actually going to that game, so I'll be looking forward to seeing what he has to say on the situation. And I hit 29k this weekend, so pretty good. Pretty good weekend. How are you? You were in the States. You had it even better than I did.
Dude, I've like been in Vegas. We're filming this, me and G-Man, by the way, at nearly 10 p.m. Monday evening. I got back to the UK, I'm going to say around 6 p.m. So about 4 hours ago from Vegas. I was on the plane with Hamza Shiraz. We were having a nice, good chat about what next for him. He did tell me what next for him, but obviously I can't reveal. But Hamza Shiraz is going to be out sooner rather than later. Let's just say that. But look, let's get straight into it because, again, this is a busy one. Guys, I've got some of the notes written down about stuff we have to talk about. And, I mean, we're not even talking about the fights first. That's how crazy it's been. Conor Benn has rocked the boxing world. In fact, this has gone bigger than boxing. Rocked the sporting world with news of this move to Zuffa boxing, Dana White, Turki Al-Sheikh, Nick Khan. I mean, you know what? Sometimes I'm not surprised with some of the stuff that happens in boxing because I've always said it's the wild, wild west. This one, I nearly choked on my food. I nearly fell off my seat. This one surprised me and shocked the hell out of me. And 72 hours later, I'm still shocked.
Oh man, you and me both. Do you know what, right? I settled in last Friday because it broke on Friday night here in the UK. I settled in last Friday to a quiet weekend. I was looking forward to the fights on Saturday, and I was thinking, you know what? It's Friday night. Not much is going to happen. I'm going to play a little Xbox and just, make the most of the evening. Phone starts going off. I'm like, what's going on here? And I saw that. And honestly, like, it's very seldom I have those, big jump out your seat moments in boxing. This was one of them. Conor Benn signs with Zuffa Boxing. Like, how? How does that happen?
Dude, when did I get to Vegas? I got to Vegas Wednesday night. The press conference for Garcia Barrios was on Thursday. I get to the presser, and Chris Mannix, who's almost like an insider, right? Very much in the mold of Mike Coppinger, comes up to me and says, "Do you know?" I'm like, "Do I know what?" And I'm trying to, I don't want him to know I don't know. So I'm trying to pretend, yeah, of course I know. But deep down, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, "Oh, Conor Benn to Zuffa." And I was like, "You're crazy." I said, "There's absolutely no way that's happening." He's like, no, it's happening. I was like, "Chris, it ain't happening." I said, "Conor Benn and Eddie are like that. Eddie is beefing Dana. Like, there's no way Conor Benn is jumping ship to go not only to Zuffa, that's one thing, but to go to Dana White is a whole nother discussion." And then obviously, lo and behold, it breaks 24 hours later. Look, there's so much to unpack with it. I mean, I know I've seen words like treachery, I've seen disgrace, I've seen so many words around it. I have spoken to Conor Benn. We've shared a few messages, so I've got his side of the thing, or at least how he sort of views it. And I guess ultimately, like most things in boxing, like most relationships, comes down to money. And he's obviously getting paid more than he could have ever expected. But I always felt like the relationship between him and Eddie was more than just money. It felt like it was that. I didn't think money could somehow break this kind of relationship up, but evidently it can.
Evidently it can. Listen, I don't begrudge a fighter leaving, even if it's a long-time promoter, long-time trainer. If they think they're going to make money and further their career elsewhere, I'm all for the fighter going and doing it. However, on this occasion, it is a strange one. Conor Benn and Eddie were like that. I watched an interview that Frank Smith gave with Simon Jordan on TalkSport, and Frank Smith came across very well, and he spoke about how They went on holidays together. They were not just Eddie and Conor, Frank and Conor, everything. They were thick as thieves. So it was just so shocking, so out the blue. And I think you just associate Conor Benn with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. You do. You just Conor Benn and you
Yeah.
think, Nigel, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom. So you just associate them all together. For this to happen, and for Eddie, everything Eddie did, all the work they've done with Conor Benn, a lot of promoters like your Bob Arams and something like that, if if Conor Benn was going through what he went through a couple of years ago with all the what, someone like a Bob Arum, maybe even an Oscar De La Hoya, they probably would have just been like, what, it's not worth it. I don't care how much money you could make me. It's not worth going through all this. Eddie was like, no, I have you back. I'm sticking by you. That's what makes it all the more shocking. It's just crazy.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but this is very important and I'll be quick. If you're one of these people that watch the channel and don't hit that subscribe button or forgot to hit that subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. It's really important. It will help grow the channel. I am trying to chuck different types of content on the channel as well. I am trying to get to 200,000 subscribers. I know it sounds crazy, but who knows, right? By the end of the year. And I need you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. All right, back to the video. That's interesting actually, because Eddie sticking by Conor was even before Conor blew up. Like, say that happened, that Eddie sticking by him after the first Eubank fight, you can understand why Eddie's sticking by him, because ultimately Conor's a big star. But Eddie stuck by him before Conor really became this star. So Eddie kind of gambled that Conor's going to become something, right? And Eddie stuck by him. The thing that surprised me the most, and this is, there are a few things that surprised me, but the thing that surprised me the most was when Eddie sat with Coogan, I think the day it all broke. And Eddie said that he kind of got the information via email and that he reached out to Conor to talk and Conor said no. I was like, no way. Like, again, you want to hear from both sides. So I don't know how true that is, but I can't see a reason why Eddie would lie in that situation, because Eddie looked like he was really down, right? He almost looked hurt by it. But for that to, for an email to come back and say no, or a text to come back and say no, that's tough for Eddie to take. That's going to be hard. Eddie now will never, ever trust a fighter again. I mean, you're getting locked into 10 fight deals or we're not signing you. Like, no fighter is getting away with a handshake and yes, I'm going to always commit to you. Like, unfortunately now, because of this situation, Conor's now made it harder for every single fighter going forward, because now it's just business. There's no personal relationships. There's no jumping in the ring when you win. Now it's just business.
It's Eddie said it himself. Look, he thought that they were thick as thieves. He thought that, and it is kind of foolish in one sense. He thought that they didn't need a contract. They didn't need to be locked into a long-term deal. And that's never been Eddie Hearn's style. Dylan White, fight by fight. All these fighters he's worked with, fight by fight. Remember Dalton Smith was with Eddie Hearn for a while. He went to Boxer for one fight to win the British title and then came back to Eddie Hearn. So he's done this. He's happy to let fighters go and come back, and it's all good. But now after this, he is going to be making sure that these contracts he writes, they are bulletproof. If you sign a deal and it's 2 years, it's flipping 2 years. It's not 2 fights. It's 2-3 years. So it's impacted the whole stable. And he did sound hurt. It's happened to him before. Remember Lawrence Okolie and all he did for Okolie, and when Okolie left, all the things he said. But that was kind of different. With Okolie, you kind of felt like, all right, but, we can still, he's with Frank Warren now and he's still not really headlining. So, Eddie was trying, it didn't succeed. But with Conor, as you said, since the get-go, since day dot, he made his pro debut on AJ's undercard against Charles Martin. Conor Benn, I remember you used to say it, in some of your old videos, that you were like, I'm not sure, where's Conor Benn going? What's he doing? Eddie Hearn stuck by him through all that. When people were saying, oh, he's not that good and this, that, and the other, years ago now, Eddie was like, nope, sticking by him. When he had the war with Cedric Payne out, sticking by him through all that. To not even get a text and do it via email, that's bad form, I think.
Yeah. And, the one thing that's going to really grind Eddie Hearn's gears is not necessarily about the depth of Matchroom's stable, because, look, stars come and go and there'll always be someone in the next couple of years that I think will do good numbers. It's where Conor is now. That Conor right now is as high as he's ever been. Like, Conor can't walk the streets of America without people knowing who he is. And you couldn't say that to 90% of British fighters, maybe 95%. Like, Conor's now a superstar. Whether people like to believe that or not, it's true. Hence why Zuffa and Dana White made the play for him. Conor's next fight could be a world title fight. If not a world title fight, it could be a fight that does great pay-per-view numbers. So Eddie's lost him right at the peak of Conor's powers in terms of age, in terms of profile. Like he's gone. It's almost a bit like I can't even liken it to anything. Wayne Rooney when he left Everton to join Man United because you knew it was going to be an immediate effect. I can't compare it to anything because I've never seen anything like this in boxing. But if I'm Eddie, it's going to take a while to forgive and move on. It's going to take a fucking while.
I don't think he will ever fully forgive Conor Benn. Like, even if he works with him again, I think that relationship is broken now at this stage. So, because Conor Benn has been speaking of, keeping Eddie around and this, that, and the other. Listening to Barry on TalkSport today, listening to how Frank Smith was saying, I think that relationship with the way this has happened and the fact that Eddie tried to reach out, he tried to, say to Conor Benn, let's have a talk, and he didn't. I'd say that relationship is gone now. And if they ever do work in some capacity, it's really going to be a business relationship, not what it was before. And I think about it, like, Eddie is used to loyalty in his fighters. Tony Bellew, when he went to Eddie Hearn, even now, 100% loyalty. And Tony Bellew, obviously he didn't become the star Ben did, but world champion, headline pay-per-view, steadfast. Matchroom, Eddie Hearn. Anthony Joshua, who at one point only rivaled Canelo, was the only guy who could rival Canelo for biggest fighter in boxing. Not only did he stay with Eddie Hearn, he signed a lifelong deal that he's still in now with Eddie Hearn. So he's had big names, 100% loyal. And I'm sure he thought the same. And God, I really don't know what must be going through his mind right now.
Yeah, you're right. Some of the language being used by Frank, Eddie, and Barry, you'd almost say that this bridge has been burnt and it can't be rebuilt. And look, we have seen people come back to Eddie. We saw Frank and Eddie now sort of make up and sort of they're now kumbaya around the fire. But this one seems to be more like some of the words Barry was using. I listened to that interview as well. It makes it sound like this is a relationship that's completely severed and there's no way of fixing it. But what's interesting, G-Man, is that, again, we're led to believe it's only a one-fight deal. But it's funny because the language I hear from Conor will suggest that Zuffa have got big plans. And plans, plural, the S on the end. But we're only hearing it's a one-fight deal for 8 figures. So I don't kind of understand what's going on. Is it a one-fight deal with an option of 2 or 3 more? Is it just one fight, then he's a free agent and Matchroom can go and get him again? I don't quite get the terms of this deal.
Yeah, you said it there. The way Conor Benn was making it sound, it genuinely, to me, even though they're reporting it as a one-fight deal, it doesn't sound that way. Like the terminology he's using says to me that this is more than one fight. It could be that maybe he signed a deal for one fight with an option, but he's just not allowed to, divulge the options. Maybe Dana White is doing what Dana White does, signing him for maybe a multitude of fights, but officially it's only one fight. But he has the option to promote Conor Benn for his next 2 to 3 fights or maybe a year or so. And I'm sure Conor Benn is confident that whoever he fights is going to beat. So he's thinking, I'm here for the long haul. And again, Barry Hearn, in his interview he gave to, was Ali McCoy, said that it's like being in a marriage for 10, 15 years with your spouse. It's all going well. And then the wife or the husband just pull the rugs out from under you. You're not going to forgive that person. So that, as far as I'm concerned, bridges have been burnt. And I think that if they ever do work together again, unless Conor Benn goes on some kind of mad run where he's world champion, he's winning all these fights left, right, and center, I think that if he ever does go back to Eddie Hearn, his pulling power might be diminished by then, and maybe Eddie will just look and say, I can't, because the way they're speaking, they do not sound happy at all. And this does sound to me like, even though we're hearing one fight deal for 8 figures, which is crazy when you think about it, it sounds like it'll be a long-term deal. And Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn even said it himself. Was it Eddie or was it Frank who basically said that, Conor may talk about world titles, but he's only in it for the money. That's such a contrast in a week to how he was. But this guy only, 3 weeks ago was having a go at like Devin Haney for being boring and saying Shakur is, not going to have a chance against Conor Benn, to now, he's only in it for the money. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not crazy because that's how promoters speak. I think we know that, right? If they're with you, they would say you're the best thing since sliced bread. As soon as you leave them, then obviously the real conversations will start. I noticed something very interesting on the Jai Opataya Brandon Glanton fight poster and the Conor Benn signed to Zuffa fight poster anyway. And Conor Benn had the Riyadh season logo in his poster, and Jaya Patai, when he signed, didn't, which led me to believe that I think that Conor Benn, although signed to Zuffa, I don't think he's going to fight on CBS Paramount. I believe that Conor Benn will be unveiled as a Sky Sports fighter, and I think Zuffa are going to sign a deal with Sky Sports. And I'd be shocked if we don't see Conor Benn fight over here as opposed to fighting in the Apex or in America. I think Conor Benn fights over here, Zuffa deal with Sky Sports, and a lot more British talent is going to be sort of et up in the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh man, and you're saying about Sky, I have heard that too. Listen, if that does happen, I know we use this word a lot in boxing. We've used it a lot over the last few years, but that really is game changed. I mean, Paramount in the States, Sky Sports in the UK. That's two serious broadcasters in broadcasting in general, much less sport. If that happens, and Conor Benn, because it would make sense, he is a big name worldwide, but primarily in the UK, he can do stadiums there. We've seen that twice. If he goes to Sky Sports, every fight is on Sky Box Office, and UK fighters, whether they're with Boxer, whether they're with Frank, whether they're with Eddie, if they are out of contract, if they've one fight left, get them signed now because they will all be looking to jump ship and go to Sky Sports. 100%.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I would, if I'm Frank, and look, Frank's a master at this. If I'm Frank, I'm literally looking at everyone's contracts, and we're making it watertight. Anyone that's got 3 or 4 fights left, like if I'm Ben Shalom, I am looking at Adam Azim's contract right now. Like there's a few fighters out there. There aren't that many stars, but there are a few. Like Moses Itauma. If I'm Frank, I'd lock him down for the next 10 years. Like whatever you want, Moses.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, like literally whatever you want. I know Ben Whitaker's re-signed or signed with Eddie. However long that deal is, double it. Like I would be shit scared right now of Zuffa coming in. And more than shit scared of Zuffa, it's of Turkey. All these fighters have relationships with Turkey. Turkey knows all of them. He speaks to all of them all the time over the phone. He's the link and the key here. He's the one that everyone knows almost overpays. If I'm Frank, if I'm Eddie, if I'm Ben, I'm very nervous right now.
I'm extremely nervous. And you just said Moses. I was thinking if Moses isn't on a long-term deal, Frank is going to want to get him and say, 5 years, 10 years, however long it is, you signed that deal. You too, Fabio Wardley. You too, Joseph Parker. You too, Tyson Fury, especially him, because he did kind of tweet where he was really bigging up Tyson Fury, a bit randomly, Frank Warren. And I think that was to say, please do not go anywhere, Tyson. Stay here. He is going to want to, and Eddie, Ben, them all, they're going to want to lock these fighters into long-term deals because Zuffa Boxing coming to the UK potentially with Sky Sports, the likes of Conor Benn, Turkey, as you say, because everybody wants to get on a Turkey show. Everyone wants to fight in Riyadh season. He has relationships with the likes of Moses Itauma, Hamza Shiraz, obviously an ambassador for Riyadh season. Frank needs to just, and Eddie as well, but primarily Frank, because his stable is very UK heavy. Sign them all down. Get them contracted. Don't let them go.
Indeed. All right, let's move away from it because we could spend this whole episode on Conor Benn, but there are so many other things to talk about as well. We'll quickly wrap up Zuffa. They have announced another signing, that being the former heavyweight champion of the world, Andy Ruiz, who we haven't seen in the ring since he fought Jarrell Miller, which was a draw. Yeah, and I thought Miller won that fight. Andy Ruiz now back. It almost feels like Andy Ruiz is always back. Like Andy Ruiz is back and he's never back. But I still think there's something there in Andy Ruiz. Mexican-American heavyweight. He's always going to get a fan base, always going to get a following. It's not a bad signing. Obviously, they're going to do more, but it's not a bad signing. You got F.A. Jagba, you got Andy Ruiz. There's obviously going to be more, but that's not a bad start.
No, and to be honest with you, this is the thing. It was announced over the weekend, but because of the whole magnitude of Conor Benn, it just went completely under the radar. I only found out about it this morning when I woke up, and I was like, oh my God, this is 2 days old that he signed with Zuffa. It's just, there's been so much about Conor Benn over the last weekend, you've not noticed it. Yeah, look, Ruiz is still young enough. He's still fresh enough. He still has something there. It's just the discipline. That's all it is with Andy Ruiz. It's all it's ever been with Andy Ruiz. It's frustrating, mate, because we saw what he did with AJ. We've seen him against Joseph Parker do very well. That was years ago. That was a decade ago now. There's still a good fighter there. It's just getting him on the straight and narrow, and just he's never going to be a Joe Six-Pack, but just in good enough shape that he's able to make the most of what he has because he's got so much talent. And I think working with Dana White, I think Andy Ruiz, there's a good win still left in him. He's not this generation's Buster Douglas by no stretch. I think there's a good win, there's a good run, much less a win, still left in Andy Ruiz. Great signing for Dana White.
Yeah, indeed, great signing. All right, let's talk about a man that was in shape over the weekend. That was Ryan Garcia, who physically looked incredible against Mario Barrios. A career best performance. I thought his best performance prior to this was maybe Luke Campbell. Obviously, the Devin Haney one, yes, but that now being a no contest. So in terms of a legit win, Luke Campbell, this obviously surpassed that because Barrios was a world champion, albeit a limited world champion. You did say that you were heavily on Ryan Garcia to win this one. I think you said knockout. You were nearly right in the first 40 seconds. Barrios did well to survive, I felt, but I thought this was a very, very good Ryan Garcia, who finally showed that he has two hands. We saw a right hand, we saw a left hook, we saw a left hand, and now I'm excited about what Ryan Garcia can do against the very best at 140 or 147.
Oh man, I said it right. I thought he'd win this fight handily. I thought he'd stop him. He almost did. I like Ryan Garcia. I love him as a fighter. And I was so happy to see him finally, because he's just been frustrating as hell, because he's so talented, to finally put it all together. He said he had chronic injuries to his right hand in the past, which is why he doesn't really use it as much. Well, God, now he's got two. Now he's got two hands now. He's got the dangerous left hook. He's got a big right hand, so he's even more dangerous now. And he just looked a total package. His punch output moved up dramatically from his last fight against Rowley, where he didn't look himself at all. But the thing is, right, there was no real chaos going into this fight, because we spoke about that in his fight with Rowley. He was very grounded. He was very measured. There wasn't a lot of chaos, so we thought maybe he needed that. Well, there wasn't a lot of chaos going into this fight either. And again, yeah, it was only Mario Barrios, but still, he was an incumbent world champion. He has some good wins, like against Jordanis Ugas, who beat Manny Pacquiao, gave Errol Spence a decent fight. So he's decent enough. And Ryan Garcia went in there, put it all together, and honestly, I was just so proud watching it. I think I've said this before about Ryan. There's such a good fighter there. He's so fast, so athletic. He's a star. You talk about Conor Benn being a star. Ryan Garcia is a star too.
Yeah, no, Ryan Garcia is a star beyond Conor Benn, like way beyond. He has absolutely everything, Ryan Garcia. He's got the looks. He's got a following. He's kind of got this weird following of like almost like a teen pop idol singer. Like, honestly, like I was obviously there. I worked the event, and I've never seen someone walk into a venue and everyone sort of scream, shout, and ask for autographs. So he's got that kind of young following as well. But that young following don't necessarily translate to pay-per-view buys and bums on seats. So he kind of needs to sort of almost get an adult following, if you like. But I thought he looked really good. I felt like, all these peers. So when you think of Devin Haney, Teo, Gervonta Shakur, they've all been world champions, multi-weight world champions. It's only Ryan. Ryan's the only one that we've been waiting for. And finally, he now has this WBC title. And I think that's going to give him an extra 10% because he looks good. He doesn't even get hit. Like, you look at it, there wasn't a scratch on him, like nothing. So he's so fast. He looked like he carried everything through to the 12th round. So he's got a gas tank as well. Honestly, I am now very excited about Devin Haney rematch, Shakur Stevenson fight. Like, all of a sudden, I think his speed could cause Shakur a problem. Don't get me wrong, always favor Shakur. But his speed is really, really, it's faster than anything out there right now in boxing.
Oh, easily. And his speed is just, I would still favor Shakur, but Ryan is more athletic than a Teofimo Lopez. He's a bit more unorthodox because Teofimo Lopez tried to box with him, whereas Ryan's just not going to do that. He's just going to look to set up left hands and right hands. So I'd still favor Shakur, but that's a different puzzle altogether in comparison to Teofimo Lopez. What I'd like to see Ryan do now in the immediate future, to be honest with you, I'd quite like to see him just go and avenge and unify at the same time. Avenge that Rowley defeat, because that was a bizarre performance. That wasn't the Ryan Garcia we saw in there on Sunday or Saturday night over with you guys. That wasn't the same Ryan Garcia. I'd like to see him become unified. I'd actually like to see Devin Haney unify as well. And then to meet, because I think that Lewis Crooker, the winner Lewis Crooker versus Liam Parrow, whoever it is, Devin Haney fight him, Ryan fight Rowley, meet at Christmas, maybe November, December time, undisputed rematch. That's the fight we all want to see. We all want to see Devin versus Ryan again. Yes, I'd love to see him against Conor Benn or Shakur, but Devin Haney is the fight to make. That's the fight, man.
Yeah, that is 100% the fight. And It was disappointing because I almost wanted Devin to be in the studio with us. Obviously, Shakur came up. We wanted Devin to come up as well because we want the sell. We want to start the sell. And Devin would say whatever he needs to say. Devin will go on and on and on. And we didn't quite get that. You mentioned Lewis Crocker there. If I'm Lewis Crocker, I'm like, how the fuck do I get in this mix? Because nobody is talking about Lewis Crocker. Like, none of those guys are mentioning Lewis Crocker. And it's not because they're scared of Lewis Crocker, but they don't look at it as a money fight. So Lewis Crocker he almost needs like a Sam Jones or someone to be his mouthpiece, because no one's talking for Lewis Crocker. He's not with Billy Nelson anymore. So Billy used to always tweet about him. He doesn't do that anymore, obviously, because he's not with him. So it's almost like Lewis Crocker's on an island by himself. No one seems to care about the title, and everyone else is talking about the other fights. So yeah, it's interesting just you mentioned Lewis Crocker, because sometimes you almost forget he is a world champion, because you get more talk about fighters that aren't champions being in the fights with Ryan than Lewis Crocker getting a unification shot.
Well, I think that it's not just the fact that Lewis Crooker is a little bit unknown. I think it's the fact that, look, no one wants to fight for that IBF title because of that rehydration clause. Conor Benn didn't want to fight for it for that specific reason. I think that's a big deterrent for a lot of these fighters. A lot of them don't want to fight for that, and the IBF with their mandatories and stuff like that, I think that might be the deterrent. But you're right, Lewis Crooker, he's only really known with the hardcores in the UK and Ireland. He's done an arena, he's done Windsor Park, but he's done that with Paddy Donovan, fellow Irishman, brought all his fans up from Limerick, and now he's having to travel to Australia to fight Liam Barrow. So, I think they just look at Lewis Crooker and it's kind of like, it's not even that they're afraid, I don't think. No disrespect to Lewis Crooker, he's a good fighter, but he's just kind of so, for want of a better word, miscellaneous, that people just don't talk about him for that reason. And I think the IBF title is not as sought after as the other three.
Rank these performances from these three kings, if you like, in order. Devin and that whitewash against Brian Norman, Shakur and that whitewash against Teofimo Lopez, and Ryan and that whitewash against Mario Barrios. Like, all three of them won, like, going away comfortably. Who had the best performance?
Oh, Shakur, definitely. He was in there with the most dangerous. He was in there with the most proven. And quite frankly, look at Devin and Ryan, right? They fought Brian Norman Jr., incumbent champion, undefeated, but how good is he really? Like, do we think he's going to go on to do great things now post that fight? He might, but I'd say maybe the jury's out on that one. Ryan against an incumbent champion in Mario Barrios, again, arguably lost to a 45-year-old Manny Pacquiao. So you expected it from Devin, you expected it from Ryan. I expected Shakur Stevenson to beat Teofimo Lopez. Not like that. That was the best out of the lot. So if you want my opinion,
so rank him then. Rank him.
Shakur, Devin, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go that as well. Yeah, same. Shakur, Devin, Ryan. If you had your magic wand and you were Turkey Al Sheikh, who does Ryan fight next? Does he fight Conor? Does he fight Shakur? Or does he fight Devin? Or does he fight Rolly? Which one would you do? Yeah.
Well, I would, if I was looking at it in a long-term sense, if I was Turkey and I'm wearing my Under Armour hat, but let's just say it's a promoter's hat, I would say Rolly next, followed by Devin. But if it was just me as a fan, just get the Devin fight over and get it over the line, because I want to see that rematch. I want to see the build-up. I know you want to see the build-up. You'd be loving to do the face-to-face if you were doing it as well. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's the one I want to see as well. I want Devin. And another reason I want it as well is because when I did ask Shakur in the studio, like, would you fight Ryan? He said, yep, but 144 pounds. I don't want to see it at 144. I don't want any rehydration cap rubbish. I don't want any middle. I just want, if you're going for the welterweight WBC title, then be at 147 and weigh whatever the fuck you want to weigh come fight night. And Devin would agree to that. Devin would say, I'll fight you at 147. Rolly would agree to that as well. And obviously Lewis Crocker would certainly agree to that. So for me, I only want to see people fight at proper weight classes. None of this making up weight classes rubbish. So that's the reason I think I would go Devin as well. All right, very, very quickly, Richardson Hitchens, Oscar Duarte pulled on the day of the fight. Again, we were all kind of chucked into a room and they were like, Ade, got some good news and bad news. Good news, you're allowed to talk in the studio, because I always complain about we don't get to talk enough. Bad news, we need you to talk for about an hour. I was like, why? They said Oscar Duarte versus Richardson Hitchens is off. Richardson Hitchens fell sick the morning of the fight. Obviously, it's a problem with that rehydration cap. You mentioned it for the IBF thing. I'm sorry. You just got to be a bit more professional here. Like, if I'm Oscar Duarte, I'm livid. I've done a 12-week fight camp. I don't know if even Oscar Duarte gets any pay for this. Like, Richardson Hitchens, if you're too big for 140, get your ass to 147. Stop trying to be a weight bully. Get your ass to a weight where you're not going to feel ill and sick of the day of the fight. People bought tickets and traveled in from New York to watch him fight. That's where he's from. New York to Vegas ain't cheap, ain't close. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you're not fighting because you're trying to squeeze your body into a weight class that you shouldn't be at.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And you had a rant there, and quite rightly so. Richardson Hitchens, move up in weight if it's that flipping hard, right? If it's that flipping hard, move up in weight. How often have we seen this? It happened with Virgil. He had to pull out of fights on the morning of the fight because he was unwell. He was hospitalized a few times, Virgil Ortiz. If it's doing this much damage to you, making weight, guess what? You're in the wrong weight class, and you're only going to take away from yourself, and you've ruined all these traveling fans. You're talking about people traveling, nearly 3,000 miles, different time zones, one end of the state to the other, and now their trip is wasted, right? Their trip is wasted. They came to see you. Their trip is wasted. Oscar Duarte is now thinking, what do I do? I've wasted money. I've spent money out of my pocket to maybe potentially not get paid. It's a joke. I couldn't believe it when I saw it because it was late enough UK time. So I can imagine it was a shock to everyone, to you guys all over there. I can't believe that he would do that. I really, truly can't. Just move up and wait, for God's sake, and stop wasting time. There's loads of good fights at 147. You'll be... Sorry.
No, sorry. This is... You're right. This is how close, though, to fight time it was. So we went live with the prelims at 2:45. We got put into a room at 2 p.m. to tell us the fight's off. That's how late to fight. So he would have ring walked at around... He was scheduled to ring walk at 7:30, and we were told that he's not fighting at 2 p.m. That's just not good enough.
That's unacceptable. If he'd done it if he'd woke up that morning and realized, and again, I'm not saying that I would have accepted it, but I would have been a little bit more okay with it. If he woke up at 7 a.m. that morning and realized the body's not working, I'm never going to be all right in 12 hours time. You could say, all right, maybe on very, very, very short notice, you could maybe fly. You could do something. To do that 5 hours before ring walk, when everyone is there, settled in, ready, and your opponent, Oscar Duarte, is thinking it's 2 o'clock, nothing's going to happen. To get that call, and all you guys, that's a joke. That's ridiculous.
Do you believe, on the flip side, though, that the IBF rehydration cap thing should just go? None of the other sanctioning bodies have rehydration caps. They have sort of check weights, 2 week, 1 week out, etc., 3 days out, but none of them have this rehydration cap. And I almost feel like if it's not across the board, I understand why they do it. So basically, you are not a weight bully. But if the other sanctioning bodies don't have it, I do wonder if it's maybe a time for the IBF to kind of maybe get in line, or for the other sanctioning bodies to bring it in. I don't know what I want. Do I want it gone, or do I want the other sanctioning bodies to kind of follow suit? What's your thoughts?
I want it gone. I don't agree with rehydration clauses, whether it's in a non-title fight, whether it's in a title fight. I don't agree with it. If you've made the weight, you've made the weight. Let them rehydrate. Don't slap a 10 or 12 pound clause on them or anything like that, because stuff like this ends up happening. I think the WBC and the WBO, and I think the WBA, they do those the month before a fight check weight, 2 weeks before a fight check weight. And they limit like how much you can weigh. We don't want you cutting too much weight. So that's a good way of controlling it. So you're not a weight bully. Yeah, people are still going to, cut a lot of weight. But it's better to do it like that, where it's controlled, especially over the last month, to make sure there's no dramatic weight cuts, rather than, all right, do whatever you want in the room to the fight, and then make sure the next morning, if you're weighing 160 pounds, you're no more than 170. That's just, I don't get that. I don't like it. The IBF just get rid of it. They should have got rid of it years ago. It was 10 pounds, and then they moved it to 12 pounds, and then they stopped it for unifications. They're having to change the rules constantly. Just get rid of it. It's a rule no one asked for. We don't need it.
Yeah, and what it does do as well, I think if they were to get rid of it, I think they'll realize that there's a lot of really good fighters that will fight for the IBF belt. And as you said, I think earlier, that a lot of top fighters don't fight for it because of this rehydration cap. So I think if they were to say no more, they'll be surprised how many fighters now sign up, because the IBF is a good sanctioning body. It's a great belt to have, but that issue about the rehydration cap, I think, is killing them a little bit. I just want to very, very, very quickly touch on, and then we'll move on to Warrington Wood. Andy Heroka fought Gary Antoine Russell. Heroka, unbeaten Japanese fighter. It's funny because he's Japanese, but then you see him like, are you Japanese? Because his dad's Ghanaian, mum Japanese. and he flew in on late notice, basically, because he couldn't get his visa to fight. How you cannot get a visa to fight for a world title is beyond me, but he got it in the end. But he flew in 72 hours before his fight with Gary Antoine Russell. I don't know how far Japan is to Vegas, but I know it's beyond UK to Vegas, which is 11 hours. So we add a few more hours on. And this guy came in and I thought put in an incredible performance. The scorecards wouldn't reflect that. I thought he won the fight, but what do I know? But I thought he was incredible. And he's one to look out for in the 140-pound division because he was strong, fast hands, very aggressive. If he can do that after traveling, get that boy 2 weeks in the country, he's going to destroy a lot of 140-pounders.
Yeah, I think we have a new name in the 140-pound division. Going from Japan to America, you're talking probably with connecting flights, probably a day, roughly. Seriously, probably is a day. So, compromise to say the least. And I rate Gary Antoine Russell. I still do think he's one of the top guys at 140 pounds. I think he's brilliant. But this guy, man, it was crazy to watch. I mean, it was close, right? I'm gonna say it could have went either way. I maybe just slightly thought Russell nicked it, just slightly, but it could have went either way. But the 140-pound division is stacked, right? We've got a lot of good names in it, and thankfully we have another good name in it from Japan. We don't normally see them fighting this high up in weight either, Japanese fighters. They're normally, kind of in around the flyweight to featherweight range. That's normally their division. So you don't normally see guys, from that part of the world up at like 140 pounds, but he's going to be a problem in that weight. He's going to be, if he can do that on 72 hours, being in the country, probably still definitely jet lagged, needing to acclimatize everything. If he can do that, give him a month solid in the state of whatever state, whether it be Las Vegas, whatever, Nevada, whatever, he is going to cause some serious problems at 140 pounds. Serious, because he was strong in there.
He's very, very good. All right, let's move to Nottingham. Again, guys, look, we're already sort of nearly 40 minutes in and we've not even touched on what happened in Nottingham Motorpoint Arena. Yeah, we are. Yeah, the Motorpoint Arena. Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington 2. Not the same fireworks as their first fight, 2 and a bit years ago. Josh Warrington, unfortunately, looked just a man that's at the end, coming to the end, is at the end. Lee Wood looked like a man that had a bit of a better game plan, boxing and moving, didn't really engage in the fireworks anymore, as we're so used to see Lee doing those kind of rocky fights, if you like, with Warrington and Lara and Condon. In the end, it was a bit of a damp squid. Look, credit to both. Again, it lacked a lot. The atmosphere was still great and the fans tried to rally them, but you can see these are two guys that have given the best part of 10 years plus and have given everything, and there wasn't that much to give anymore.
No, it was immediately apparent with Josh Warrington in the first round. Josh Warrington's always been a guy, he has the high guard, he gets under your shots, and he just peppers you. He stings you with shots. You can ask Carl Frampton, he knows all about that. That was gone. That was clearly gone. He was very hesitant about getting hit. There was times there I felt like he was in a position to open up on Lee Wood, and maybe it was reluctancy on his end too. But I think maybe he just knew it's not happening. The mind knows what it wants to do, but the body just won't do it. That's what it looked like with Josh Warrington. Whereas Lee Wood, honestly, I have to say, coming off the back of that performance against Kikache, where he was soundly beaten, look, I'm not saying that he's going to go on a run and win another world title, but there's still a lot left in the tank with Lee Wood. I think there is. I think there's enough left in the tank. Personally, for me, I think he probably should retire on this because, it's a great way to go out. But I wouldn't be against him maybe having a go with the winner of Jazza Dickens versus Kikache, maybe. Because it looks to me like there is just that little bit of something left in him. And he always is better in rematches, Lee Wood. Look at the Mauricio Lara fight.
If the winner is Jazza Dickens, yes. If the winner's Kakachi, I think it's a difficult sell. But if the winner's Jazza Dickens, who himself's a small guy, a guy that's come up from the lower weight class as well, then that's a rematch between the two. Let's not forget Jazza beat Lee Wood many moons ago. So I feel like that's a good little rematch to do. There's a lot of talk about Nick Ball going up to super feather. That could be a fight as well. You think of a Matchroom versus Queensbury fight. That one kind of makes sense as well. So if you're Lee Wood, you've given yourself a bit of a lifeline here. And what we saw of Lee was a different type of fighting style. As I said, that was the first time I'm seeing him kind of fighting off the back foot, a lot of counters, engaging when he needed to engage. It was smart. Whereas Josh, it was kind of the same Josh. And Josh was expecting this
Mm.
kind of the same Lee. And Lee was like, we're not playing that game. We're not here for a Rocky movie. I just want to win and move on and give myself a couple more big fights. And I think that's kind of what Lee did.
He definitely did that. I mean, there was times there I thought he was playing Russian roulette in there because look how low he had his hands down at certain points. I was thinking, man, you want to be careful holding your hands down that low. But he was very disciplined. I think he stopped Josh Warrington last time, remember that? And I thought there was moments there he probably could have maybe looked to force a stoppage, but no, he was happy to just, stay on the back foot, keep boxing. And as you say, like he's given himself a few more paydays. And if it is Jazza Dickens who beats Kakache, it's a natural fight to make. World title fight, rematch all these years later. Before it was British level for their first fight. Now it's at world level. So there you go.
Yeah.
And Nick Ball moving up. There you go. That's another kind of Josh Warrington type of fighter as well, if you think about it. Getting under the jab. Although Nick Ball, the wrecking ball, he's more a big puncher than Josh Warrington was. But there's still something there for Leigh Wood. Josh Warrington, not so much.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's talk about the chief support, the co-main event. Bilal Fawaz, the new British and Commonwealth champion, beating Ishmael Davis. I'm a big fan of Bilal. I knew Bilal could beat Ishmael Davis. I just didn't know what Ishmael was going to turn up. I've said, and I credit Ishmael for this, but it has been 4 fights in 5 months, and 4 fights in 5 months means 4 fight camps. 2 of those fights have been very, very brutal. Sam Gilly was tough. I was there for that one. Kevin Ajarko, another tough fight. And I felt like he went to the well and there wasn't much there in the second half of the fight. Whereas Bilal just looked fresher. He looked fresher. He's speed. He's kind of, the way in which he fights is quite awkward. It's an awkward style. It's a herky-jerky style. And Ishmael couldn't read those shots. And Bilal, a deserved winner, I think.
Absolutely. What a story, man. He only turned pro 4 years ago. He's 37 years old. I think you were saying beforehand, he doesn't even have his UK citizenship yet.
No.
What a story it is. It's incredible. Bilal Fawaz, early on, he was getting clearly outboxed. That was the thing. It looked like Ishmael Davis had this, in the bag almost. But it's not just the fact that he's had, 4 fights in 5 months. If you looked at him in the ring, man, he looks huge. He's massive at 154 pounds. It has to be taking it out of him making the weight as well. And I think that the combination of him probably being too big for the weight and consistently having to make it, he had nothing left after about 7-8 rounds. That was it. It was, the gas tank was gone. It was empty. And Fawaz just outworked him and rightfully was the winner, deserved winner. But I think that Ishmael Davis, there's still something there, but he needs to move up. I mean, he was, man, it literally looked like a super middleweight in there versus a middleweight, because Fawaz is not small either. That's what it looked like. So Ishmael Davis, I think, move up in weight. It's long overdue.
Yeah, I had Fawaz in the TalkSport studios after his win for the English title, and he looks like he walks around close to 154. And I think this is a lesson for some of these fighters. He's not a big guy at all, Fawaz. Always in shape. Like it's funny because he showed me his abs. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like you are in shape now. Like he's always in shape. And I think this is a man that realizes he's 37. The chance of making big money is coming close to the end. And he's given absolutely everything. He's English champion, British champion, Commonwealth champion. And I said to him, we kind of exchanged a few messages before the fight. I said, when you win, or if you win, grab the mic and call out Josh Kelly. Like, there aren't going to be that many more opportunities for you to get a world title crack. Call out Josh Kelly, because Josh Kelly right now doesn't have a dance partner right now. It might be Xander Zayas, it might be Boots Ennis, but right now there is no dance partner. It's an in-house fight, and Josh will think he could easily beat you. So who knows? This guy could get a crack at a world title, and then it's a movie. Then it's a movie. And who knows about how he could win that one? Who knows, right? I mean, you could say that he looked better against Ishmael than Josh did. I know it doesn't work like that, but you could make the argument.
No, he did. He definitely looked better than Josh Kelly did against Ishmael. Never had a bit. Yeah, he was getting outboxed a little bit, but he was never holding on for dear life. He was never noticeably hurt. And once he took control, he just took control, and Ishmael Davis was never in it. So he did do better, but it's styles make fights. Josh Kelly is a whole different kettle of fish altogether. It would be that fairy tale story, wouldn't it? If he fought and beat Josh Kelly, it's very seldom I look at a fighter and just think, look, I want you to win because of the story he has, because 37 years old, he doesn't look 37. I mean, he keeps himself in phenomenal shape, but time is ticking. And if he could get a world title crack against Josh Kelly, who does, as you said, doesn't have a dance partner, who knows what might happen? Who knows? I'd love it. I'd love to see him do
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's go back to America. Again, we're going all over the world here, people. Let's go to Detroit very quickly. Let's wrap up the weekend fights. Claressa Shields beating Franchon Cruz Dezern the second time they meet. The first time was back in 2016. Claressa just too good, if I'm honest with you. She's just far too good for anyone in and around that weight class. I'm now desperate to see like if Lauren Price can put on a couple of pounds and go up, Michaela Mayer. I want to see people in there that I feel like could maybe give her a boxing match because no one's bullying her. That's evident. But could these other girls give her a boxing match? And I think those two, Michaela and Lauren, potentially could have a good little few rounds of her because I'm kind of getting bored of these fighters that I'm seeing Claressa in the ring with.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, we know Claressa is very, very talented. We know that. And she keeps saying that she doesn't get the praise she deserves, which I think is true. But one of the reasons why is when you look at Katie Taylor, she's Chantel Cameron, she's Natasha Jonas, she's got Amanda Serrano. Claressa Shields has no one like that. Claressa Shields is literally, as you say, having to recycle old opponents because there's just no one there to fight. And the people that there are there to fight, they're not on her level. And you know that going into the fight. Whereas I said with Katie Taylor, you don't know what might happen with her and Shelton Cameron. You don't know what might happen with her and Amanda Serrano. You know, you look at Ellie Scottney and you look at the likes of Sky Nicholson, you know, down there at Bantam, Super Bantam, and you're thinking, oh, look at all these fights that can be made. There's just none of that with Claressa Shields. She's significantly better than everyone else in her weights. You know that. They know that. And the girls that she wants to fight, the weight jump for them is just too much. And even if Lauren Price did move up, if they met at 168, Lauren Price is going to turn around and say, look, if I lose, it's not my weight. So would Claressa Shields get the credit of saying Natasha Jonas, had beaten Lauren Price last year? Heaps of praise on Natasha Jonas because they're the same weight. If Shields beats her, it's like, okay, yeah, but you fought up a heavyweight. This girl has fought at 150, 460 pounds. She is great. She's a great fighter, but the problem is she doesn't have the talent to really show that greatness off.
Yeah, it's a shame. I do feel sorry for her because she had 18,000 in there. 18,000 for what everyone knew was going to be a win. It's incredible. It's almost like the Claressa Shields show. And that's maybe what she should do. She's obviously selling out these arenas, fighting people that everyone's expecting her to beat. So long may it continue for her. She signed a big money deal with Salita Promotions. But it is a shame that we aren't seeing her in, as you say, those Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor fights. We want to see her in with someone where we're like, whoa, I have no idea how this is going to play out right now. You kind of go to bed, wake up, and you know you're going to see Claressa Shields win. Undisputed, unanimous decision. You know what's going to happen. All right, let's quickly run through some news. Quite a bit of news. We're going to try and run through all these in about a minute each. The first one, Eddie Hearn. I did an interview a few days ago. Feels like a lifetime ago now. So that AJ could be back in the summer. No month, no opponent, no broadcaster, no whatever. But AJ being back in the summer is good news.
Great news. Judging by how he sounded in that interview or that kind of video clip he did a couple of weeks ago, it sounded like he was coming back. Eddie was mentioned in July, possibly kind of sometime in late July, which would be ample time, I think. It's more than 6 months. He wants to see how AJ holds up in an actual camp because he's only been doing takeover training. Listen, I'm glad to hear that he probably will come back. And we always kind of knew he kind of would. He sounded like that was the plan all along. I'm not going to expect him to be in there with anybody decent. I just want to know that he's all right physically and mentally. And even if he's in there with someone of a very low level, I don't really care. Just as long as we know, right, he's all right and he looks all right, and let him do what he needs to do.
Yeah, agreed. I actually raised the argument of a Dillian White type. I know it sounds, some people might say, oh, he's coming off a most of the time of defeat, but I think Dillian White's I think it's almost a perfect opponent for him. There's history there. They were going to fight. Dillian desperately wants a couple more paydays. I think this is just a fight that makes sense as to where AJ is. Because ultimately, look, AJ is coming off a win against Jake Paul. So we have no idea where AJ is coming off, like where he is. Yeah. So, yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? Like, it was a win over Jake Paul. Like, let's not try and put him in there with Bacoli. Yeah. So let's take it easy. Tyson Fury will fight Arslanbek Makhmudov. We spoke about that last week. Now, though, he's confirmed no trainer. I don't know if he's just playing with us. We're now 7 weeks away, I think, from the fight. Surely he's got a fucking trainer. Like, surely this isn't just him and John Fury.
No, that's a recipe for disaster right there as well, by the way. Now, Sugar Hill Stewart's been a great trainer for Tyson Fury. Like between him and
Mm.
Peter Fury, they've both been just brilliant for him. The two of them at different times in his career. There's no like I don't understand all this. Like I know it all. Well, you know a lot about boxing, but you don't know it all. When if something happens, which it could, Makhmadov hits hard enough, Dave Allen's attesting to that. You're gonna need someone in there who's calm, who understands, who knows what he's talking about, and who knows you. You don't need a John Fury barking at you saying this. We've seen like people like Teofimo Lopez Sr. do that, and it hasn't benefited him in the slightest. So I hope and pray Tyson Fury is just, taking the piss with us and just trying to play these mind games because he needs a trainer 100%.
Yeah. All right. Final two bits. Mike Coppinger in the last sort of half an hour was tweeting about two big fights. Or one super fight, the other one a big fight. Let's get to the real fight first. Inoue versus Nakatani, May 2nd, I believe is the date. Tokyo Superdome, super fight, 2 pound for pounders. Regardless of what Nakatani did in his last performance, this is still a massive fight over in Japan. It's a massive fight in boxing in general. That's a great one. I'm almost trying to think of how I get out there for it because I don't think DAZN are going to be covering it, but I just want to get it. I just want to witness it myself.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was just thinking, how am I going to get to Japan? How am I going to get to Tokyo, Japan in May? Because I desperately want to see that fight. That's going to be that fight right there is Japan, and not even Japan, that's Asia's Fury versus Joshua. That is literally their Fury versus Joshua. It's a massive fight. Yeah, Nakatani didn't look amazing last time out. He really didn't. But that guy wasn't too bad, he fought. Inoue just looked tired. And he even said it to you in the ring, I'm tired. I think going into this fight, he'll have ample rest. He always looks $1,000,000. But he's in there against someone in Nakatani who I think Inoue has the beating of him personally, right? But Nakatani is technically very, very good. He will have studied Naoya Inoue, the blueprint of him, because he would have grown up, or certainly when he was coming up through the levels, he would have been looking at Inoue as that's the guy I want to be, and that's the guy at some stage I want to beat. So he'll have a very good understanding, more so of Inoue than Inoue would have of Nakatani. And Nakatani has highlight reel knockouts as well. So you don't want to, and Inoue's been getting dropped a lot lately. So you don't want to, you don't want to go and just write him off. But I think Naoya Inoue is just a generational talent. Arguably Japan's greatest ever fighter. Arguably, and I'd say he is. And I think this fight, that Tokyo Dome, the atmosphere is going to be electric. The fight will deliver. The fight will deliver. And I don't care about the undercard. I don't care. As long as I can see that fight, I don't care.
Yeah, no, indeed. It's going to be sensational. Just, I don't know. I've watched a few Inoue fights in Japan, and the noise that they obviously watch it differently to how we watch it, to how Mexicans watch fights. It's not as crazy. They don't make a crazy amount of noise. It's more a respect. I will be making all the noise for them if I go. All right. We'll end on this one. Mike Coppinger's also reported, and this is done. It's not even a report. This is fact now. It will happen on Netflix. Floyd Mayweather is officially back. This isn't an exhibition. He's officially back, and he is going to fight Manny Pacquiao. I can't even believe I'm saying this. In September, they're going to fight in the Sphere, I believe, which is in Las Vegas. Yeah, it's happening. Manny Pacquiao is fighting fucking Floyd Mayweather. It's crazy.
We waited years for the first fight, and it happened, and it was what it was, and we thought, all right, that's that book closed. Fast forward 11 years later, and we're having it again. Both a lot older, both a lot more miles on the clock, but that's still a big fight. And on Netflix, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. I think the boxing fans who were too young to remember the rivalry that they had, or not even the rivalry that they had, but the hype around those two guys, especially in the mid 2000s. I think for them, they'll lap this up. They will absolutely lap it up. But for Floyd Mayweather and Manny, I'm like, do you know what? Manny Pacquiao should have been a world champion his last fight, but Floyd Mayweather hasn't had a real fight since he fought. And even then, you could argue, it was only McGregor in nearly a decade. I really don't get this. I don't get it at all. It's just a cash grab for me. And for Manny, he's fought at world level and looked good. Floyd hasn't fought at world level for over a decade, and he's pushing 50. So I think that could actually potentially go.
Yeah. Floyd 48, Manny I think 45. Yeah, obviously it's a cash grab. We know this.
Mm.
There's been a lot of talk about Floyd and his financial situation in the last 6 or 7
Mm.
months. This one will get him an extra 20-30 million. It's that simple. It will do great numbers on
And the
Netflix.
rest.
You know what I need? You know what I need from Netflix? I grew up, obviously, look, I'm of an age where I grew up, it was Mike Tyson. Then in the UK, it was very much sort of ITV. It was Eubank, it was Ben, it was Prince Nassim Hamed, it was Joe Calzaghe. My love for American boxing came through Floyd Mayweather and the 24/7 HBO series. Like I was obsessed with watching Floyd Mayweather, and it was a guy called, I think, Liev Schreiber that used to voice him. And I just felt like this was the greatest TV ever. Watching Floyd showing off his money, the cars, in the gym, hitting the bag. They need to do, all I ask for them is give me a 24/7 type series and I'm sold. Take my money. I honestly,
The,
I just want to see a Floyd that no one does a build up to a fight better than Floyd Mayweather. No one has. And that's all I care about, really. I
no.
don't necessarily care about the fight. I just want to see the build up.
The magic of those HBO 24/7s, even if it wasn't Floyd, that was something. I remember them as well. They were brilliant. They made so many fights. HBO,
Yeah.
I miss HBO so much. They were amazing. They really were. Floyd sells a fight like no other. Floyd sold us Conor McGregor and almost broke the record that him and Manny Pacquiao have in their first fight for pay-per-view buys. Won't be pay-per-view buys this time, but Netflix are going to chuck money at it. I'd imagine maybe Turkey might even get involved. They're going to make an absolute, you said 20-30 million. I was thinking, and the rest, they are going to make an absolute bomb for this. I hope they do kind of, I hope they treat us to it. I hope they treat it as a bit of a kind of a throwback to the HBO, the Showtime days, the 24/7s. I want them to do a lot for this fight. You know, with Canelo Crawford, we only really got like the trailers and the kind of documentary style things fight week. Nah, I think we need to see it, a good bit out of the fight. It's happening in
Yeah.
September, so they've got loads of time. They've got more than 6 months, for God's sakes, to get as much marketing for this fight as they can. So I'd love for them to do that. As for the fight itself, it's probably going to be a lot more entertaining than the first fight, truth be told, because they're both diminished. Manny still has speed. Don't know about Floyd's reflexes because, again, man, we haven't seen him. He'll be 49 on fight night. Like, he'll be 49 come to fight, man. There's no way he's going to have the same reflexes at 49 that he did at 38. No way.
No way. But he looks like, and we've seen sort of former fighters and how they balloon up in weight. You think of like Billy Joe Saunders and Prince Nassim Hamed. Floyd always looks in shape. I don't know if it's an ego thing for him, but I've never seen Floyd out of shape. So I genuinely believe Floyd's in the gym every single day. Not sparring, but just staying physically the best he can. And obviously there's a lot of talk about exhibition fights. So he's always seeming to get ready for something. So I think he's going to get into the greatest shape he can possibly be. And look, 48 is 48. Old age is age. But I don't expect him to look as bad as most other 48-year-olds trying to get in the ring. I still expect Floyd to look pretty good. And I do wonder if it's going to be a full 10 rounder. Is it going to be 6? Is it going to be 8? Are they going to be wearing bigger gloves? I guess we're going to find all this information out in the coming weeks. G-Man, there you go. We packed a lot into just under an hour there.
That flew by. When you said we were 40 minutes in, I was like, surely not. We haven't been talking that long. It's crazy how quick this time goes.
Yeah, me and you can talk and we can jabber quite a lot. And we certainly did. Guys, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. As always, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We could be announcing a channel sponsor, or at least an Ade and Gman sponsor in the next few weeks. So fingers crossed for us that we do that. But regardless of the sponsor, we're still going to be trying to give you guys these videos every single week and do what we do as well, which is be as honest as possible in these videos, which isn't easy for me because obviously you guys know my position. As always, please go on to G-Man's channel. Link is in the description. Subscribe to his channel. Just hit 29,000, as you guys heard him say at the start of the video. So now the next one is 30, which I'm sure should come in the next couple of weeks. Some big fights coming up. Subscribe to my football channel, Ade Talks Football. Subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you very, very soon.